Welcome to the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. For over 10 years, Dan has been helping AM 1160 listeners. With so many companies to choose from and hundreds of loan options, the mortgage process can be confusing and costly. Be sure to listen each day for Dan and learn the difference between FHA, VA, and conventional loans. You'll also learn how to negotiate lower interest rates and fees, as well as steps to buying your first home and whether refinancing makes sense. Stay tuned to find out why Chicago's top realtors are choosing Dan Frio.
Hello and welcome back to the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. And just give me a little bit of feedback on me or information about me and how to contact me and how to look me up. Is you hear me probably every day on AM 1160 if you're a constant listener. I've been on here for about, I want to say 13, 14 years. You can reach me. And again, you're listening to 1160. There's a play on that. You can find me at 1160-1160mortgage.com. You can reach me personally at 630-338-1160. And another way, I have probably over 200 YouTube videos, and many of them are starting to go viral. So if you want to check me out, just Google me, Dan Frio. You'll find my YouTube channel and other things. Check it out. If you don't mind, please subscribe to the YouTube channel too. You'll get updates on that. Today I have a friend of mine, Angie Stockton. She is a realtor. She's an awesome realtor. We close a lot of business together, and she's just a joy to work with because so many realtors, they just, they don't let me do my job. And I like doing, I've done it for 30 years. I kind of know what I'm doing. I don't need you to grab me by the hair and walk me through what I'm supposed to do. So tell them how to get a hold of you. And then we're going to go on to the show and give you a lot of information today.
Okay. You can call or text me at 630-800-7740. You can go to angiestocktonsells.com. I have a contact button there, or you can email me at angie@greatsuburban.com.
Perfect. Okay, today's show, I'm going to give kudos to Angie. She's the one that thought of this, and it's a great idea. It's basically FHA misconceptions. What I wanted her to do today is talk about, I don't deal with the sellers. Here's what I hear a lot of times is, Dan, I might send you a pre-approval, and it says FHA. Mm-hmm. Then you'll call me back, and I'm sure this has happened, mm-hmm. is you'll call and say, Dan, can these people go conventional financing because the seller doesn't want to sell FHA?
Yes.
Why? Who cares?
Well, the sellers have probably been advised that it's harder to close an FHA loan. Okay. So I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about the misconceptions of FHA. And maybe that can clear up some of the hesitations that people have about that type of thing.
So elaborate on harder.
Well, sometimes they feel like it takes longer to process the loan.
Okay.
They feel like it is going to get dinged for more things. And maybe this would be a good time to mention what an FHA loan is looking at and what the appraiser is going to look at when they come out. I tell my clients it's the 3 S's. It's safety, security, and I think I'm forgetting my last S.
Soundness.
Soundness. Thank you. That's it. Okay. So thank you for helping me with that. Yeah. Soundness, they're just making sure that there's not like a leaky roof or, a structural problem or something like that.
Well, let me ask you this. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
And I kind of know the answer, but maybe I don't. There's always a learning curve here. Mm-hmm. Doesn't conventional, I'm assuming, and you mentioned this, and that's why I interrupted you, so sorry. That's a leaky roof. Mm-hmm. Is that going to pass conventional?
No, that's true. Okay, conventional is going to have issues with that, too. I think maybe part of what people are misunderstanding is an FHA appraiser comes in, and a lot of times they will say this appraisal is subject to these items being fixed, which happens with conventional as well. But then you'll have a second time that the appraiser comes back, obviously, to make sure that those things are fixed. So getting back to what I was saying about the 3 S's, they're looking for the soundness, like I said. But as you pointed out, a conventional loan is looking for that type of thing, too. Yeah. They're also looking for things like safety. This is where they might differ somewhat, like we talked about a handrail on a staircase.
Well, tell them this one, and I'll back it up with it. Okay. It's factual.
It is. Most often, if you've got a staircase that doesn't have a handrail, FHA is going to say this is only they're going to ding it, and they're going to say we'll approve it once that is corrected, once there's a handrail. They're looking at the fact that if a toddler falls over and breaks their arm, there's a safety issue there.
Right.
So that's one of the things they're looking at. So that's maybe one of those, it's not a huge issue, but those are the things that people start to think about, oh, do I want to have that?
Well, the funny thing is, elaborate on that appraisal then. What happened with that appraisal?
With the one that I told you about as we were talking, well, I sold a home last year, and on the main floor was a staircase that did not have a handrail. And I looked at my buyers and said, your FHA, this is going to get dinged. Oddly enough, it did not get dinged.
Okay, I got to give you a side note on when we were preparing for this, Angie put in the notes something, and I said, you have to say that on the air, because she was reluctant to say that. And I'll say it on her behalf. She said, hey, I'll give you the quote behind this. And basically, she's talking about the appraiser. She mentions, and maybe what kind of day they were having. And she said, should we say that on the air? And I'm like, absolutely. And here's a little elaboration on that is you have that house appraised 5 times.
Yes.
3 times it's going to get dinged.
Yes.
2 times it won't.
Yes.
The value is going to come in a
5
range.
different ways. Yep.
So there's guys, the appraisal piece of this is an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's fact-based somewhat. Or a lot. But a lot of it, when it's broken down into the final number, there's a lot of opinions that go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be, here, I'll elaborate on I just closed a loan recently, and we had 2 different FHA appraisals.
Mm-hmm.
One appraisal I'm sorry, not 2 FHA appraisals. You can't have 2 FHA appraisals. Just so if you know, if you're selling a house or you have an appraisal, an FHA appraisal is good for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. So if you're selling your house and you have an FHA appraisal,
mm-hmm.
that appraisal stays with your home
mm-hmm.
for 6 months. It's not changing.
Yep.
So even if your buyer changes, that FHA appraisal is going to float with that house to any buyer that's going to buy it. So here's what we did. I had a gentleman in the city, had a 3-flat. Mm-hmm. We think it's a 3-flat, and here's why. We have an FHA appraisal done. It's a 3-flat worth $540,000.
Okay.
$550,000. I'm sorry, $550,000. Okay.
Okay.
For some reason, it doesn't go through, and I won't explain why. So then we go to another lender, and we go with now conventional financing.
Okay.
That house appraises as a 2-flat for $440,000.
Oh wow.
So within 30 days, I had 2 appraisals done on the same exact property. One's a 3-unit worth $550,000. Mm-hmm. One's a 2-unit worth $440,000.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this: how often do you think it happens where you actually get a second appraiser to come through because the first one just wasn't going to make it?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
On our end, like a lot of times, I know how to look at appraisal. I've done this for 30 years. You look at it and you're like, you're missing this, you're missing that. There's a comp. I just went to Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever. I saw houses down the street that, why didn't you use that comp? Oh, I didn't see it. Or they didn't do their due diligence and didn't find it. That would have added $10,000 to the value. So there's a lot of things there. We could talk about appraisals all day long. Yeah. So, okay, where do we pick up on?
Well, I guess maybe if we're going to talk about that's probably another misconception that I wanted to mention, was that a lot of people think that an FHA appraisal is an inspection. So they'll call it an FHA inspection. There are 2 different things going on when you're talking about appraisals and inspections. So I guess maybe talk about home inspection first. When you have a signed contract, you have 5 days once you've got a signed contract to have your attorney review process and to have to hire a home inspector to come in and look on your behalf at the home. They're mainly looking at major issues so that if there's something major that they see, you can go back and renegotiate or ask the seller to fix it or, come to a different term. So they're looking for major issues with a home. If you have a good home inspector, they're also going to walk you through your home. They're going to give you maintenance ideas. They're even going to tell you what type of furnace filter you need. I mean, that's a good home inspector that walks you through. Yeah. And I always suggest highly that my buyers go through.
Do you have to?
No, you do not have to do a home inspection, but I've got a story about that if we've got the time for you to tell
absolutely.
I just sold a house a couple of months ago where the buyer hadn't purchased a home for 30 years. This was a second home. And he said, hey, we've signed the contract. Now we just get the loan and we're ready to close, right? I said, well, no, actually things have changed a little in the last 30 years. the first thing you want to do is secure your attorney and secure your home inspector. And he said, I don't really see the need for the expense of a home inspection. And I said, well, a lot of people say that to me, but I highly, highly recommend you get a home inspection. It's very, very important. That way you know what you're getting into when you sign that bottom line in 30 days or 45 days. Very reluctantly, he did get a home inspector. Make a long story short, that home inspector found that the roof of that home was basically done. It had seen its life. It was done. We negotiated that contract and ended up getting an $8,000 credit for him because of the roof. So he spent somewhere between $600 and $800 for the home inspection, and because he included a radon inspection, and that puts a little bit more money onto a home inspection. But he spent that money and ended up with $8,000 because of the roof.
That's cool. And Angie is great about this. Almost all her clients do the inspection part, which I would highly suggest as well. Mm-hmm. When you get that inspection, and Angie does it for me, she sends that to me, the lender. Mm-hmm. I then go through it with a fine-tooth comb and pick out, because they're gonna find a lot of stuff that probably isn't gonna pop up on an appraisal.
Right.
Here's the frustrating part: is I see this with GFIs. Is that right? GFIs, the plug things in the bathroom. Yeah. The plug things in your bathroom or next to a sink that pop. So you don't get shocked. Smoke detectors. Smoke detectors are required in Illinois.
Right.
I didn't know that till just a couple years ago.
And carbon monoxide. Yes.
And carbon monoxide. So when we get that inspection, now what we do is we go through just those little fine tooth comb things, because the other ones stand out. The railing, normally that's going to get nailed. Right. The bigger issues are usually going to get nailed. But some of these little things, might not, and we'll elaborate that a little bit on that as soon as we come back. So thank you so much for listening. Please come back. We'll be away for about 1 minute. Again, if you want to reach us, it's 630-338-1160. Check us out on the web at 1160mortgage.com. Angie Stockton, spell your last name for them so they can figure it out.
Stockton.
Awesome. So thank you so much. Stay tuned.